Welcome to this exercise on company valuation. Here we have a company which reports a debt position of 200k with an average interest rate of 4%. Additionally, we know that the equity position of the company is 450k, and we have the information that risk-free interest rate lies at 2%, whereas the company faces an additional risk premium of 5%. In addition to all these informations, we have financial forecasts for the next couple of years, in particular for 5 years in particular, those first 5 years, and then in a continuous fashion from 29 onwards, more or less for perpetuity. Our task with all of this information is determining the WACC, the entity, and the equity value. So let's start directly with the WACC. For the WACC, we need the first 2 lines of our information. And well, the WACC is the weighted average cost of capital. So we need to determine our weights first. Here we have 2 types of capital, foreign capital and equity. So if we add those up, we get total capital position. So we have a total capital position of 650. Of the 650, 200 are foreign capital. So 200 over 650 is the share of foreign capital. Equity is 450. So 450 over 650 is the share of equity. Those shares, those weights, I then have to multiply with the respective costs. So the cost of foreign capital is the interest rate charged for the debt positioning, which is 4%. And the cost for equity is the sum of the risk-free interest rate and the risk premium. So here 7%. And then I can calculate this, giving me a weighted average of 6.08%. And that's the interest rate I'm going to use in the next calculations when I want to determine entity and equity value of this company. So here, this is the WACC. This is then the additional financial information I had in the exercise text. And the first thing I'm going to do with this is add one additional line where I calculate the free cash flows. Free cash flows result from taking the NOPAT, adding amortization, subtracting investments. So that's the money available after investment purposes. So here I get 50 plus 30 is 80 minus 10 is 70. 60 plus 30 is 90 minus 15 is 75, and so forth. However, free cash flows, those are the values they have in each particular year. So I cannot compare them, and I can in particular not sum them up into one comprehensive value. For this, I first have to bring them back to one single frame of reference. So I need to know how much they would be worth today. This I can achieve by discounting them. Discounting means I'm going to divide them by 1 plus the WACC to the power of the year in which I currently am. So this is the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth year. So here I would go 70 divided by, in parentheses, 1 plus WACC to the power of 1, because it's first year. In the second year, 75 divided by 1 plus WACC, in parentheses, to the power of 2. In the third year, 95 divided by, in parentheses, 1 plus WACC to the power of 3. And for 27 and 28, respectively. 29 is a little bit different, because this is just a representation of this infinitely long payment period. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to consider the present value of this perpetuity, which this column represents. Net value, net present value of a perpetuity, I can calculate by taking the value paid each period, so the 100 in free cash flows, and dividing it by the respective interest rate. So here I'm dividing 100 by the WACC of 6.08%. This is then the value of this perpetuity in the respective year. So this is the value of the perpetuity in 29. I have to, however, bring it back to the beginning, to the current date. So I have to discount this value as well. So I have to divide this again by 1 plus the WACC. Now, since we are in the 6th year, to the power of 6. This delivers this value. And then I can add up all the discounted cash flows and I will get the capital value, or here we just call it the entity value. However, this value is not fully owned by the company because they have a debt position. So I have to subtract the debt from the entity value, and only then do I get my equity value. So that's how much it would be worth to the equity owners of the company. Well, that's done about it on this exercise. Hope you enjoyed. I say goodbye and see you next time.